When we diagram verbals, we tend to place them on a sort of half slanted line. And this is a little difficult to draw in my drawing program here. So you're going to see that in some of these slanted lines, they're going to look a little bit ugly, and that's okay. Most of the other lines will be a lot straighter. So what we do with verbals then, we put them on this slanted line. So let's say that we have the infinitive to win, then to kind of goes down on an angle, and win goes over here. And as you can see with the other ones like winning or stolen, we kind of write them on this angle to show them going down. So we have a couple of examples here then of verbals to start. And the first use of verbals that we're going to look at is as an adjective. Okay, so if you look at our first example, it says you have a winning smile. And as you can see, winning is describing smile. And we have this sort of slanted line here that curves at the bottom and then straightens out again. Now, this is a present participle, but we could also imagine this with a past participle. So let's say we want to describe the word house, right? And we draw this slanted line. There we go. And we could describe this as, let's say, a haunted house. So haunted house, that would be a past participle. In our next example here, it says it was stolen from my locker. Here we see that the participle can also act as a predicate adjective. So you'll remember that a linking verb like was is often followed by either a noun or an adjective. And if it's an adjective, then what we can have here is something like stolen. This is the past participle, right? And the past participle here is redescribing it. So it is, or in this case was, stolen. Now, if we just have stolen by itself here, because it's an adjective, some people prefer to just write this on the line itself. So you could just write this like this, stolen, and then of course we have this line pointing back. Now, what we're going to do is put each of these verbals on a pedestal. And the reason for that is because if you're trying to remember when am I allowed to put it on the line, when should it go on a pedestal, it's really confusing. And it's actually much easier to say, hey, every time we're just going to put it on a pedestal if it appears like this on the line. And that way it's a lot easier. Now, as you can see, a participle can also have lots of other description with it. So here we have a prepositional phrase describing stolen, right? Stolen from my locker. All right, now the next thing we're going to look at is gerunds, and our next sentence reads, Carl hates brushing his teeth. As you can see, brushing is a present participle, and when a present participle acts as a noun, in this case the direct object, right, hates what, hates brushing, then we call it a gerund. And notice again that the participle can have different things modifying it as well, or things following actually. So in this case it has an object, brushing what? Brushing teeth, or his teeth. So this is the object of brushing. As you can see, we've put it on this very ugly slanted line, half slanted line, there we go. And actually it should be a little bit more like this. There we go. So I should be a little neater. But a lot of guidebooks actually have a slightly different way of doing this. And what they do is they have much more of a jagged sort of line. So they put the ing on the bottom part, and then they put the rest of the verbal, so brush in this case, on the top part. You may prefer that. It's totally up to you. Obviously, in drawing them out like this, if you're going to make them as ugly as mine, maybe you prefer this one. I actually find this a bit weird looking, though, to kind of split it into two things. So it's up to you. If you want to take the gerund, break it up like this, you certainly can. We also see that a gerund can be the object of a preposition. So our next sentence reads, he was tried for trespassing. Now, in this case as well, when you have an object of a preposition, you are allowed to put the word just right on the line. Even though it's a gerund, this is allowed, so you could just write, right, for, and then trespassing goes over here. So that's up to you if you want to do that. Again, we're going to be kind of rigorous with this to the point of being a bit obsessive perhaps. but it's just so much easier to remember that when you have these verbals that you put them on the pedestal if they go on the line like that. All right, we have another example here, just to show you that the gerund can often have lots of description following after. And this one reads, making jokes about me is not cool. As you can see then, all of this together, right, making jokes about me, all of this is the subject before we get to the linking verb, and that's redescribed with cool, which is a predicate adjective here. Which then is modified by not, just to turn it into not cool. Now the next thing we need to learn is how to diagram infinitive phrases, and our sentence here reads, to love you is easy. Notice again how the verbal, so in this case the infinitive, goes on the half-slanted line, how it can have a direct object or other description that goes with it, and then after that, as we put it on a pedestal, we get to the rest of our sentence, to the predicate, and here it says, to love you is easy. Over time, you're going to see that sometimes these phrases created with verbals can be quite complex, and in this introductory course, we're not going to see always super complicated examples, but here is one just to kind of give you an indication of what is possible. And in this case, this says, scanning the waters of the Hellespont, hero could not see Leander. This is a classical story. So you can see here that scanning, right? This is our present participle. And then it has an object, the waters, and an additional prepositional phrase, which tells us some more about the waters. And all of this describes hero. So hero is the one scanning the waters of the Hellespont. All right, so you've seen lots of different examples in this video of how to diagram verbals. It's not always easy, and it's also good to remember, and this is our last point, that sometimes the verbal can just be part of the main verb. So don't think that it always has to go on a pedestal or on a half-slanted line. For instance, if you say, we are planning, right? We are planning our wedding. And we're just going to diagram this. So there we go. Then in this case, our planning is our verb phrase. And as a result, we don't want to put anything on a pedestal here. This is just a regular verb phrase, and that's important to remember. All right, that's it for diagramming verbals.